Hey, what's up guys, Josh here, and today we're going to be talking about the Buchart S300 loudspeakers. So I already reviewed the S400, which are back there, and that's kind of Buchart's premier, kind of highest end bookshelf speaker. And the S300 is kind of their quote unquote lower end loudspeaker, coming in about $1,200 US shipped. So pretty interesting little box here. One, a couple of notable things about the build right off the bat is it is bigger than the S400s. It's bigger than the UB5s. Pretty sizable cabinet here. According to their website, it's 370 millimeters tall, 190 wide, and 330 deep. They're pretty big. They're actually thicker in terms of the cabinet than the actual S400s, and the S400s kind of feel quite a bit lighter than these do. They come with the same kind of grille covers for the drivers as the S400s do, although you will notice that the orientation of the drivers is a little bit different, and you don't have that waveguide that the S400 has. So on the bottom, it's got a 6-inch woofer, 1-inch dome tweeter, no passive radiator on the back. Instead, they switched it out with a port and the same exact binding posts as on the S400. So if I can insert my personal opinion here, I think the looks of these speakers are beautiful. I think the S400 takes it for me just because it's got that sleek kind of curved design, and it looks good from the back, and the front just looks awesome. This looks pretty great as well, but if I had to give looks to one, it'd be the S400s, but this thing's not bad either. Now, as far as the unboxing goes, both of them were pretty standard. They're just, wrapped inside of a cardboard box. Not much crazy there. So when it comes to this speaker's efficiency, it's a 4 ohm speaker and has a sensitivity level of about 88 dB. So it's not the worst thing in the world to drive, and you can drive this fairly efficiently. So when it comes to sound, I think this is going to be kind of an interesting study here because same size woofer in the front. On the rear, on the S400s, those have a passive radiator. And initially I was thinking, wow, this S400s are going to have a lot more bass. I was wrong. These have a lot more bass. Now, there's definitely some benefits for the S400 over this that are not just bass, and maybe we'll talk about that and possibly a comparison if I do that. Let me know if you're interested in that comparison. If you're deciding between the two, that could be very valuable. But as a speaker, this thing is pretty good. And what I'm about to say is probably gonna make the most sense if you've already seen the S400 review. But this kind of takes what the S400 is good at in terms of being a warm speaker and kind of turns that notch up just a little bit. This is a little bit further away from kind of neutral. The treble response though, I think is a little bit more active on the S300s from just a quick comparison that I've done here, but not a whole lot. But the woofer is doing a whole lot more work in the lower end on this speaker than it is on the S400s. Now the bass response that's coming out of this woofer in terms of quantity is pretty impressive. Quality, it's okay for the price. It doesn't really blow me away. I definitely think within the ranges that they can both play at and compete equally, I think the S400 definitely takes it for quality of bass response, but this definitely has more in terms of quantity. Now, another thing that 300 is very good at is kind of the disappearing act, similar to the S400s, where if you set them up properly, they kind of just don't exist in the room. Now, this tweeter does call a little bit more attention to itself, and it's a little bit less forgiving for placement than the S400 is. S400 never calls attention to itself, and it's very forgiving in terms of placement, toe in, toe out. You can really do whatever you want with that speaker, and it's never really going to attract kind of your eye to the speaker or your ear to the speaker, whereas this does, and it's a little bit more picky. And I'm not sure if it has to do with the waveguide that's on the tweeter on the S400, and this one doesn't have that, or maybe it's a crossover thing, or maybe it's actual tweeter design. I'm not quite sure. But the main takeaway is that this speaker is a little bit more picky in terms of placement for that disappearing act. But once you get it set up, it's pretty good. And as far as the first impressions with this guy go, so far it's been pretty pleasant. I really love the look of these speakers. I mean, they're beautiful, gorgeous speakers, but you don't have to take my word for that. You can see it yourself. And we're getting into that territory where if I say any more, I'm gonna be basically just reviewing it. So I think I'm gonna leave it here. Let me know what you guys think. If you want that comparison between these and the S400s, stay tuned and subscribe for the actual review of this because that will be coming out soon. And until that does happen, my name is Josh, signing off.